Minister Anandasangaree, thanks for taking some time for us. I guess just first off, your reflections on this day, September 30th.
It's been quite an emotional day. I think there's multiple emotions as I sit and listen to many of the survivors and their experiences. It really is a stark reminder of how recent this past is and the experience of so many and the impacts of residential schools on so many people over many generations. These survivors are heroic, in my opinion. They're sharing their experiences to the public, to the world. Many of them never share that with people because of the trauma that it brings forward. So I'm very grateful to be here and to learn directly from many of the survivors. It also is a reminder for me, and I think for anyone in government, that we need to do better and we need to continuously work to improve the lives of Indigenous peoples, but more importantly, to ensure that First Nations, Inuit, and Métis have path to self-determination. That I think ultimately is where we need to go. I was in Halifax this morning in Nova Scotia at Millbrook First Nations, and there was a march to honor the survivors, and we ended up at a community center where it was named Nora Bernard Community Center to honor one of the survivors. There's so many young people, just like here, so many young people, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. And it really just brings home what happened, right? These kids, were taken away from their homes. Some of them never came back. Many of them came back shattered. And it just really does affirm that we need to do more. We need to do it faster. We need to ensure that truth is sought, justice is served, and accountability is derived.
When talking about those that didn't come home, there's going to be a march, a rally here later tonight over the funding of the searches for missing children. Can you provide some clarity on that funding? Because, it was capped back, then there was an apparent reversal, but there's still some sort of cap. It's unclear what's going on with the funding there.
It's actually, this summer, there was a cap of $500,000 that was placed on the funding for those who are seeking answers to their loved ones. The initial cap was $3 million. It was reduced to $500,000, in part because of the demand that existed across Canada. Right now, we're supporting 146 projects from coast to coast to coast, and the money has been available for communities. Having heard from many survivor groups, I instructed our department to lift the cap and essentially come back to the old numbers. So it's essentially $3 million is the available funds right now. Applications are due November the 15th. We're assessing the need and we are seeking additional funds in order to be able to support every community that needs to do the work. We have said from the outset, the Prime Minister has said it, we will be with survivors and their families and their communities every step of the way. We realize that the impact that the decision of the department has had on communities, and we reverse that virtually within weeks. So we look forward to working with survivors and groups that are working on searches to be able to support them in a way that will find them answers and that will give them closure.
Has the majority of that, like $300 million or so that has been committed, is the majority of that gone out the door?
I believe around $200 and something million has gone out the door. The money has not been fully spent yet, and that is in community. So they are each community is doing and working on their own path, and we are very supportive because that's the way it ought to be. It shouldn't be an Ottawa-driven approach. So every community has undertaken their journey, whether it be research, whether it's actually doing the searches or additional work. We support the self-determined approach of every community. And at the end of the day, we will be with them every step of the way.
Just lastly here, Minister, there's another reason that many Indigenous people aren't feeling the reconciliation this year, and that's the deaths of at least 9 First Nations people at the hands of law enforcement over a span of roughly 3 weeks. There's been calls for a public inquiry into police deaths. Is this something that you would support?
I'm deeply troubled by what's happening, and I want to first off express my condolences to the family members as well as their communities for this loss. Law enforcement has a critical role to play to ensure the safety and security of everyone, particularly Indigenous people. These deaths trouble me greatly. And I have called upon the respective institutions to undertake a review that is independent, that ensures that there's truth, there's justice and accountability. We cannot move forward as a nation when people don't feel secure in their communities. And I do think we need answers, and I'm very supportive of seeking accountability and answers for what's happened. And I fully recognize how deeply troubling this is, and I mean, it's reflecting on this this week. There are parts of the world where something like this would cause an eruption that will shake up the country, and I think here all of us in leadership need to understand our responsibility and ensure that we do right and we don't let this happen and persist.
So no need for a public inquiry?
Well, what I'm saying is there's definitely need for investigation. I think there's definitely a need to have every one of these deaths investigated and answers found. We've had a number of public inquiries, as you're aware. We've had a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. We have the calls to action, calls to justice from the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. I think there are a number of things that need to happen in terms of law enforcement and in terms of policing, and I think those are things that we need to move expeditiously on, not just at the federal level, but also different levels, different jurisdictions. But I think for the individuals at hand here, we need answers.